And now, the best 60-ish seconds of your week.
And this week, in the midst of my allergy season, comes the announcement of Joseph Robinette Biden that he is running for re-election. Now, interestingly, he chose to do that by video because you can clean things up and sanitize them. And we've all had the opportunity to see Joe Biden out in front of the cameras. And it's embarrassing to watch. It's got to be embarrassing to the Biden campaign. It certainly is to the nation, because here's a man whose deficiencies too often are on full display when he's asked questions or does things on camera, live and in person. So they had a nicely sanitized, tightly little packaged video announcement. And, you know, it's similar to his press secretary, Ms. Jean-Pierre, who can't say hello without reading it off of a script. They're tightly scripted, completely controlled. It's beyond Rose Garden-ish. And in 2020, he was kind of able to get away with that because we were in the midst of a pandemic and you weren't really required to campaign out on the hustings as a candidate normally is. It's not going to be the case this time around. And thus far, there are two announced candidates against Joe Biden. This Marianne Williamson, who has the crystals and all this nutty stuff, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who I still don't believe is a serious candidate, or at least a truly viable candidate, but already he's tracking at nearly 20% in the polls. Now, the last time that a Kennedy challenged an incumbent president for the Democratic nomination was in 1980, when his uncle, Ted Kennedy, took on Jimmy Carter. He lost the primaries, although, as you know, it didn't work out so well for Jimmy Carter in the fall, and we're hoping that happens again. The previous time, of course, was in 1968, where his dad took on Lyndon Johnson in the primaries. Johnson ultimately dropped out. Sadly, we know what happened to Robert Kennedy, but the Republicans prevailed in November as well. So maybe an omen for the future. But the fact of the matter is this: the Biden record is indefensible. First of all, the economy remains in a mess. Inflation still running way too high, hurting every consumer, every family budget across the country. And we have stagnant economic growth, 1.1% last month. We simply can't maintain our standard of living, much less anything else. Our quality of life suffers as a result of the Biden economy, and we continue to see the wreckage at the southern border. Now, this is something that Kamala Harris is supposed to be in charge of. She apparently will be the running mate of Joe Biden again, or at least presumably will be. And look at the mess at the southern border, occasioned in part because of her incompetence, and secondly because of the incredible incompetence and arrogance and downright unwillingness. I won't say inability, because he has the ability to tell the truth. He chooses not to tell us the truth about what's going on at the southern border. And that's Alejandro Mayorkas, the Secretary of Homeland Security, whose performance has been an absolute disgrace as millions of people continue to stream across the southern border illegally while he tells us that we have control over it. I mean, it's not just a lie, it's a bold-faced one, which means, to me anyway, that they're allowing this on purpose. If it was simply to say, you know, we're having a tough time, we don't have the right amount of people, we don't have this, we don't have that, we haven't built the wall, at least those would be excuses that made some sense and that fit into a context of we're really trying. These folks aren't even trying. And meanwhile, drugs streaming into the country, sex trafficking going on all over the place, and absolute shambles, including children. You know, we heard all about children under the Trump administration. We don't hear it from the media now that the Bidens are in the White House, and the disaster there just continues to grow. And so the 2024 race is underway. You had a couple other Republicans getting in this week. Former governor of Arkansas, Asa Hutchinson, joins the race there. A number of candidates chasing Donald Trump for the lead. First debate still a couple of months away, so lots of opportunity to see these candidates and get a real feel of who they are and what they would do if they were elected. And this week we lost a couple of important Americans. First of all, Jerry Springer, the former mayor of Cincinnati. Folks didn't know about his political career because it was overshadowed by his career as a shock television host on a show that, let's just say, is best left for late night television. And Dick Groat, the famed baseball player from the Pittsburgh Pirates, who incidentally also played for the Philadelphia Phillies for a while, passed away this week at age 92. A great Hall of Fame baseball player who, along with Bill Mazeroski, teamed up to make one of the best keystone combinations in the history of Major League Baseball. But the truth of the matter is, Dick Groat was probably a better basketball player. In the vaunted story of Duke basketball, we all know the fame that Duke basketball has had. The first player to have his jersey retired there was Dick Groat, who began his career in the NBA but was told by the general manager of the Pirates, "You've played your last basketball game, you're going to stick to baseball." That general manager, by the way, was Branch Rickey, who broke the color barrier of Major League Baseball when he was GM of the Brooklyn Dodgers just a couple of years before. So Dick Groat, a great and famous Pennsylvanian, may he rest in peace. And one final note on baseball, his Pittsburgh Pirates are in first place as we tape this. Think about that. And the Phillies have finally gotten up to 500, clawed their way back from a miserable start to presumably ending the month close to the 500 mark, and an awful lot of baseball yet to be played. And for now, that is the best 60-ish seconds of your week.